Hello. Today we're going to talk about a programming language, a specific programming language called hypertext markup language, also known as HTML. And what is HTML? HTML is the language for creating websites. It's a web page language. And as we all know, web pages come in many different shapes and sizes, with different complexities depending on the user. So this goes back to our process again. The very first step is identifying the problem. So when you're creating a program or something like a web page, the first step is always who's going to be using this web page. And some web pages are more complex and more user-friendly, and some pages are a lot more simple. So I'm going to take you to a few of mine that I've created. So I've got two different web pages. I've got one that's called T2S2, and that's a place where I put research papers I've done. It's more geared towards the academic side. I've got another one called MHS Professional. So this is T2S2, and this is part of MHS Professional. I'm going to go back here, and we'll go back to MHS Professionals. So this is MHS Professionals right here. And you can see they display quite a bit different. So this is T2S2, and it's more geared, like I said, towards the academic side of it. And this is the mhsprofessionals.com, and this is more towards the professional side. And you can see when I created this, it's pretty straightforward. It's a pretty straightforward site. There's a logo, my name, address, phone number, what I do. It has contact link, and if you notice down here, it says mail to. So this link where I'm at right now is a hot link to an address. Then it has different hot links, a biography, and note. See, this is HTML, so it's a link to a web page. That's a link to a web page. I've even linked the pictures to a web page. So copyright, last update, again, a link here for the webmaster, which would be me, since I'm the one to create the page, to contact me if something goes wrong. So it's kind of a simple and straightforward web page, because if you're looking for an engineer, you pretty much know kind of what you're looking for. So I'm going to make it more straightforward to tailor to that audience. You already know you want an engineer. You're going to be web savvy enough to do a Google search or to find my site. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time with a complicated interface. It's very simple, very straightforward. So let's say I click on any of these. Let's go here to, dam safety, for example. So I click on dam safety, and now pulls me up to a different sheet with the logo, some information, and some descriptions of some things that I've done with some pictures, and then down here with a back to index. So if you want to go back, you can click it and get back. To me, that's a useful tool to have. Is a way to get back to the main menu. And that's just me thinking, when I'm using a website, I appreciate the ability to go back. So we'll go back over here to dam safety and see here I got, like, for example, this is a link to another page. So this is a detail on the specific page of this specific project that I had with some pictures and all that. So you can kind of get the feel here as we go back again. We start out very broad, and it's almost like a table of contents, or almost like a main index in a book. And then each one of these, let's say, is a chapter. So then I hit a chapter, and then these are broken down into sections, and I get more detailed as you go along. That's just how I organize my website. Other people do things differently, but that way I feel if you want more information, you can just keep clicking on links, and it'll take you there. This is the other website. It's got a similar kind of view. So you start out with just this general page about what we are, and T2S2 was the name of a company I had, and so I changed it into more a repository of academic work. And then over here, this, and since I figure these are going to be people who are maybe not as tech savvy, it's going to be a little bit more interactive. So, for example, I have a traffic survey. When this pulls up, and you notice it takes a little longer for this one to pull up than the other one to pull up. And so we pull up and see here's this traffic survey that some of you are familiar with, which has it's basically a survey, and it has pull down menus here. On there, it has some pictures. So it's a little more interactive, and again, it's geared more towards people who are not necessarily tech savvy. So then I click back, and on that one I don't have the links like I did on the other one where I can just hit a link to go back. You actually have to hit the browser's back button to go back. So it's designed a little bit differently than the first one. And again, this is taking through our process of who's going to be accessing this. So it also has some other boxes over here. So I'm going to click on my name. And so after we click on my name, again, this is that whole concept of going a little bit more detailed. So it tells about me, who I am. I've converted a lot of my files into PDF format, so these are all PDF files. So this one, for example, as it's pulling up, is a report I did called the Evaluation of Effectiveness of Transportation Engineering Instruction. It was a little study I did on how well we're educating professionals, and it's in a PDF format. So if someone wanted to come in here, they'd have the PDF format that they can access. And then I have some of these other ones that are HTML format. And so these are actually created in hypertext markup language. So this is one that I wrote back in 2001, a holistic approach for evaluating proposed traffic operational changes. Engineers, we have this fascination with these wordy names of what we do. I don't know why we do that, but we try to make the name as descriptive as possible so that if you're doing a Google search, that you can pull up on it. So if you ever wonder why engineers tend to do that, it's because we want to make the name itself, when you search on it, because remember, in the old days before Google, a lot of it we'd have keywords, or we were limited in search capacity if you went into old databases, or even if you used the old card system by a certain topic. So if you put that in the name, that made it a little bit easier to find something. So you see there's a whole bunch of different ones. And then here's this page here, and it's actually a report, and it's got this nice table that presents some data on how we did it, a little overview, and a kind of little history, but it gets the information that you need. So we'll go back here to this one. So let's go back here, and all of these, if you click on function F12, or in Escape, for example, this is Microsoft Escape, I can go over here to the three dots where it says More, and it'll say F12 Developer Tools. And what it will do, it will pull down this display. And what this display does is it actually shows the code. So you're actually looking at the hypertext markup language for this particular site. And if you look over here, for example, you'll see it looks like a directory, and you'll see these little triangles. Well, if they're open and they're pointing to the right, that means there's more information. So you can see I clicked on it, it filled it in, there's more information. And you can see this is actually, what I'm looking at is the actual code. So this is actually the code that you're seeing on the display up here. So if someone were to take this code and recreate it and post this, they get the exact same display that I've got. So if you're savvy with your hypertext markup language, you can actually come up with some pretty neat things. And the best way to learn hypertext markup language is take existing ones and see what the code is and modify the code however you see fit. So we'll go over here, for example, and let's do the same thing, F12. And we're going to go here. This is called MHS Drainage, HTML, and here you go. This is the exact code that I used to create this particular web page. So this is one way to do it. Now, I had mentioned before, or if I hadn't mentioned, you want to have your settings when you pull up your directories in Windows to show extensions like MP3, and you see it'll state it here too, but let me pull this out a little bit to show you these extensions. So you see all these extensions, and it'll say MP3 date modified size. You want to display this information because it's a helpful tool for the programmer to know what he's looking at, because if these extensions are wrong, whatever you do is not going to work. So to make sure that what you have works properly, show these extensions. So I've got all these extensions. I'm going to come down here to this one, Robot HTML. I'm going to right click. Instead of open, because if I open directly, it'll just open into my browser. I'm going to go open with, and I'm going to go to Notepad. And Notepad is one of those throwaway programs, but look at this. So here's my Notepad, and this is actually showing me the code for my hypertext markup language. So I can actually go into Notepad and I can write an HTML file, and that's one way to do it. You can do it in Word and save it as an HTML file, but to get familiar with the programming code, I recommend going into Notepad and doing it actually in Notepad itself so you get familiar with how to program. And if you notice on HTML, when you have one, which is HTML, you have one with a backslash HTML. So they go together. So you'll see a head, a backslash head, a center, a backslash center. Here you got P and a backslash P. So everything goes together. They're paired. There's some exceptions, but in general, HTML, everything is paired, and that becomes important, and your syntax becomes important. But look here, see, font size of 30. I can specify the size, and the color is blue, or I can use those hexadecimal codes to put my color in. So I can do a lot with HTML and making web pages. So this is a general overview of HTML and what's capable and how to look at HTML code. So anybody who's interested in HTML, look at the code and see what those pages are doing, and then go into a program like Notepad, write your own, and display it and see what kind of displays you're getting. And it's just a matter of trial and error. And that's the best way to start out with programming any language, even HTML.